Hey, I'm your host, Anthony Tank Mansfield. With me today is,
Matt Farley.
and this is What You Into.
What you into? What you into?
All right, here we are, back in the basement here. Well, actually, back in the basement for me, number 140 something times. Matt, first time in the basement, also first time on a podcast. Dude, welcome in.
Thank you very much. I'm super stoked to be here.
How the hell did you decide to do a podcast? Like, how are you like, you know what, I haven't done one of these things, but I'll give it a shot.
So I actually have given interviews as a poet before. And so I was like, this isn't that different from that. The last interview I gave was to a interviewer for the Urban Appalachian Community Coalition. I'm one of their artists. And he talked to me about my poetic practice, how I feel as an urban Appalachian, and then also my activism as well.
Cool, man. Awesome. Well, okay, so not completely a rookie. Like you've sat in front of a microphone before. You knew what you're doing here. Just your first time doing one of these where it's like, yo, bro, we're podcasting now. We're here in the Rogan verse. Okay, we're not really in the Rogan verse. Well, look, man, I'm stoked to have you on the show. Let's plug a couple things real quick before we dive into the meat of this episode. So, listener, you're gonna find me at NeoToKnow1 on Instagram is where I'm at. My link trees, you can find everything else there. Also on IG, you can find Matt. Matt is at Matt Farley Writes, and you can also check him out. This is podcast number 1. Podcast number 2 is tomorrow.
Yeah, that's correct. I'll be on the MFA Writers podcast.
Okay, so you're going from none to 2 in the matter of a 48-hour span.
Yeah, I'm a sweaty tryhard. I don't know what to say.
You're just jumping in both feet, dude.
Yeah. No fear.
Well, do you know what their show setup is like? Is it like this, where it's 2 guys staring at each other in a sweaty basement?
No, it's not that. It's a very, it's very structured.
Okay.
It's very structured.
Unlike this piece of shit, we're just duct taping things together and hoping the plane flies.
Some Bondo.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't look. Instrument panels, just don't look at them. Cover them up. Well, look, man. Before we get into the main thing tonight, let's kind of just open up here. So you and I have known each other and we were crunching numbers on it, and I said, oh, maybe we've known each other for a decade. And you look at me, you're like, yeah, we've definitely known each other for a decade now. We met at the Root Cellar. Me coming in buying beers from you. Dude, how did you end up there, and how have you been there so long? Like, what's the story?
So I was lucky enough to fall into that job at 21. And when you fall into a job like that, that'll let you do homework on the clock, you keep it. And so I did. So I've been there off and on for, I'm not there much anymore, but about 13 years.
Yeah, it's a cool spot, man. I really love that place. Like, it is the quintessential craft beer store. You know, you guys have everything that I could ever want. You also have my favorite pick six in all of. I was gonna say Cincinnati. I'm just gonna go ahead and say all the world because I know the way the pick six system works at the Root Cellar, and so I know where everything's located. So it's very easy.
Very cool.
How did you all come up with the system there for the pick six? Because like normally if I go to places, it's like, okay, all of our pale ales live here, all of our sours live here, these are our stouts, and you guys kind of got that going on with the fridges, but on the shelves themselves, it's more like, hey, this is Midwest beer, this is East Coast beer, West Coast. How did you determine to go with that structure instead?
Well, we got lots of questions about, do you have any beers from Michigan? Do you have any beers from Pennsylvania? And so we just decided to look through our inventory and be like, wow, we have a lot of regional offerings here that you don't see other places. So that is another kind of reason that people come to us because we do like structure things regionally.
You said you started working there about 13 years ago. What's it been like to see the rise of craft beer during that time period?
Oh, it was inky dinky, you remember.
I do.
And now it's Now it's a monster with so many heads, and just Cincinnati. You
Yeah.
know?
Was there ever a moment where like you looked around and kind of realized maybe something was changing or things were getting big? Like was there ever a release or a certain beer where you were like, oh man, this isn't a fad. Like this is sticking around.
I mean, Rheingeist and Mad Tree like being the first ones, but then yeah, just seeing it grow in Cincinnati, and then like Cincinnati being like a microcosm for the whole big thing. Yeah, it's enormous now.
It 100%, and I feel you on that. I remember the first time I went to Rheingeist. It was their, I think it was like their opening weekend, and I remember I was such a noob at this. I got a growler and I opened it, and they were like, "No, you can't open that in here." I'm like, "Oh, I thought it was like a pitcher," and they're like, "No, it's not like a pitcher, man. You got to take it with you." So just having that and learning. And yeah, I'm with you. Just seeing the growth of stuff. I remember, I think a thing that got me was when I first started getting into craft beer, everything was in bottles. And then having like, I think it was Mad Tree did the first canning line, or it might have been Rangas, one of the two, but they were some of the first people to do canning lines. And it was like, oh, this is a game changer because almost everything now is in can. It's hard to find bottles anymore.
Yeah, I think everything is pretty much can. Bell still does bottles,
Do they?
and people still come in and ask for bells.
Yeah.
Because, it's something safe and they know what they're getting.
You know what you're getting each and every time.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's Bell's is still rocking the bottles. Three Floyd still rocks the bottles. They do like kind of a mix. Some of the stuff's in 12-ounce bottles. Some of the stuff's in cans. Kind of depends on what you're looking at.
Oh, and I'm looking around at your shelves too. Like bombers aren't a thing anymore.
I know. I miss Bombers so much.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, like occasionally when you do find them there, it's always bourbon barrels or sours. It's something very big and unique in limited quantity. But yeah, you don't see the Bombers the way we used to. Now it's even the stuff that is like the bigger beers, like the stuff you see from street side with like Demigorgon is all in cans. And it's just it is a weird thing to see the change of in such a short period of time. Well, it feels like a short period of time, but as you said, it's been at least a decade now.
Yeah.
For a lot of these. Do you have anything that was like? Have you had any like weird things happen at the store? Is there anything that stand out as like weird moments or like just weird beers that came in? You're like, who the hell's gonna buy this?
Oh, I mean, yeah. So like a long time ago, Ballast Point did a curry stout. It was called Indra Canindra or something, and that's weird. Like I've never seen a curry stout before. But I mean, at the Root Cellar, like you do have we have novelty going for us up the wazoo. Like you can always go in there and you can get something that you've never heard before.
100%. Yeah, and you all are really good at like being knowledgeable about stuff as far as like depending on what beers you want or wines. Like I can come in and ask for recommendations. Somebody's always got me covered with that. And yeah, people and like now every time when I come in, D sees me and immediately is like, hey, we got this, and D knows what I like. Yeah. So it's easy to be like, here, spend money on this. Like, no problem, got it.
That's what separates us too, right? That like community aspect that we've been able to build over years.
100%. Yeah, it does. It does feel like to me in my head, it's like it's kind of my version of going to Cheers. If Cheers was a beer store instead of a bar, where like I know everybody, say hey, what's up, get my stuff, and yeah, it's so busy in there too. I'm always amazed at the ebb and flow of the store, the amount of people that are constantly coming in and out of that place.
Yeah, especially on the weekends.
Yeah.
I mean that's when we do gangbusters. But yeah, I mean it's not a secret anymore.
No,
people
it's
know
not.
about it.
People 100% know about it. They 100% know where it exists at. And listener, if you live in the Cincinnati area, you should too. Go check out the Root Cellar. It's awesome. Well, let's transition, man. So one time I was in the Root Cellar, me and you were talking, and we were talking about the podcast, and you're like, could I come on and talk about poetry? And it kind of struck me for a second because I was like, man, I've never had anybody ask me this one before. Like, this is by far a unique hobby thing, whatever you want to classify it under. And I kind of took a second and I was like, yeah, man, come on, like, let's do the show. Yeah, I'll get you on the list and we'll figure it out. And so we decided to sit down and have the conversation. So let's start where we're currently at. Like, where are you at currently as a poet and how it exists in your life? Is it something in you kind of hit upon it earlier a little bit with like doing podcasts on it. It sounds like it's taking up a pretty good chunk of your time.
Yeah, I mean, totally. So right now I am in an MFA program at Miami. I'm in my second year. Excuse me. Yeah, so poetry, basically I've arranged my entire life around being able to be a poet. Right now that looks like an MFA program, but after I graduate, that'll look like trying to become an academic to be able to read and research and have that access to things that allow me to operate as an artist and as a poet.
Right on. So, okay, so how's this whole thing start? Like, do you remember when you first got interested in poetry? Was it something as a child or was it something in later years?
So yeah, when I was about 18, I started doing spoken word poetry.
Okay.
And then I recorded some hip hop stuff with some friends, people you know actually or have known, Nate and Brian.
Shout out, dudes.
Yeah. And so I always like kept that in the back of my head, like, I did that. But then I wanted to go beyond the anger that was fueling like those kind of like spoken word sets and that kind of like those hip hop bars, I guess. And then to really think about what poetry can do.
So you're saying you were 18 when you started out and getting into poetry. Were you being influenced at that time by stuff that was happening in like school? Like, were you a guy that was like into English class and like creative writing, or was it just something you were doing on your own? Like, how did that start to percolate and bubble?
Well, I've known I wanted to be an English professor since I was about 14 years old.
Okay.
But I think just being very politically active in my like late teens, early 20s, like just kind of gave me like a bird's eye view about all the shit that was wrong with society. And then I just decided to take all of that raw shit and turn that into spoken word poetry that wasn't really engaged with connecting with an audience at all. Mm-hmm. It was more engaged with just being like, look at how fucked up shit is. Look at it. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't get eyeballs as much. Mm-hmm. Or you can't really get people to resonate with that message.
Yeah, and I think I think there's something too with that message where it's like, especially if it's your first time doing something, you're trying to wield a very heavy topic. It's it's not knowing how to use a sword, and then you're like, I'm just gonna pick up this katana and flip it around. Like, you're not gonna be that great with it, and you're probably gonna cut yourself in the process. You're definitely gonna make some mistakes along the way, and there is also that thing too when you're dealing with like big heavy life stuff. It's like, people are like, yeah, man, you're 18. Like, you haven't even paid an electric bill yet. Like, what do you really know about shit? Mm-hmm. And so that's also kind of a hard thing to come into, is like, you're coming in young, you're figuring stuff out, but at the same time, you're working with some really heady topics to begin with. Mm-hmm. Was there any time where when you were doing that, where like, you felt like it was, well, okay, so is there anything now where you look back on stuff and like you're embarrassed by it, or it was clunky, or is there anything where like your views have changed from 18-year-old you to now modern you?
Oh, I mean, definitely. When I think back about those like very angry spoken word sets, like, I'm just like, who did that guy think he was? Mm-hmm. He didn't know. And yeah, he had no idea.
How did you figure out how to get into spoken word? Was it something that was it something you'd seen on like via Def Jam? Because I think like Def Jam back in the day did like a poetry thing or something. Or you're shaking your head, yes.
Yes.
I remember they did. I remember they had the comedy because I remember seeing that on HBO. Mm-hmm. But I remember they had like an offshoot that was either like spoken word or something else.
Yeah, and also so spoken word artists that I love, Buddy Wakefield is a great one. Sage Francis. Mm-hmm. Aesop Rock,
yep.
Not spoken word, but like hip hop.
Yep.
Killer Mike, LP, Atmosphere, like those guys actually like, wow, like so definitely like instrumental in like helping me like see the world in a different kind of way than what I grew up like, you know, in Deer Park.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you hit upon some really like influential people there. As far as like the world of rap goes, because definitely a lot of the stuff you're saying there, like Aesop and you know, Killer Mike and LP, you know, now they're running the jewels and they're huge, but they really were doing a lot of stuff that wasn't seen in hip hop at the time. Because you and I were talking off mic before about how we're both not the biggest, like we like country, but we don't like the modern pop country. I feel that way a lot with hip hop and rap, where there's a lot of stuff where like it's very derivative, it's very boring, and it's a lot of stuff where it's like, look at all this money I got, look at all these hoes I got, look at all the like I smoke all this weed, and it's just like, all right, man, like everybody is saying this, like it's not a unique voice. Like, can you please give me a song about something different? Like, can you have your own voice and your own thing? And I always felt like Aesop really stuck out in that direction, where like he had his own flow, and then he was also talking about shit that had nothing to do with like money or material possessions or like anything like that. Like he was even more like stuff like, I mean, he has a fucking song about art school and like drawing, you know? And I always thought that was really cool. And like all of the guys that were in the East Coast scene, that were like dubbed during like backpack riders and stuff, like people that were like carrying around books and writing in them and constantly trying to expand their wordplay, expand their vocabulary, and not just focusing on like what a lot of the West Coast guys were, where it was just like we're making beats and it's about the party and it's a separate, you know. I agree with you. I like that style more, where it's there's a little bit more thinking involved and there's a lot more original content.
Yeah, and there's access to psychological interiority.
Yeah.
As well. I feel like Aesop does that a lot. And Run the Jewels is just doing amazing work right now.
Yeah, they're really interesting the way they've been able to come through the in the pop culture, because it's like, on one hand, they're in like every other commercial that's on TV. Like it's crazy how much when I'm like watching NFL football, like Run the Jewels pops up on a commercial for like an SUV, and I'm just like, what the, like, okay, like I know this song, but like, yeah, like I can't tell you how many commercials I've seen now with LP being like, ooh la la oh wee, and just that same over and over again. And I'm just, but then at the same time, you're right. Like they do make really intelligent stuff. Killer Mike's got a lot of stuff to say. And especially with Killer Mike, what's interesting is like, he does lean left. He, at the same time, he's also not like, he's not like an artist who's like carrying water for like Joe Biden or like, or being like, everything the Democrats do is good. Like Killer Mike's like, no, I also see that this isn't 100% for me, and this also has holes in it, and I'm going to talk about those holes. So yeah, it's been interesting to see, you know, how they come up and where they are in the pop culture. Again, it kind of reminds me a bit of like Rage Against the Machine, and I think that makes sense why they like toured together, because it's like it is socially conscious, but at the same time, it's very much like it's still readily available to the masses. It's a weird Venn diagram that Run the Jewels and Rage Against the Machine have been able to create.
Yeah, it's very much in tune with the working class, I think. And it's like elevating like working class issues, especially Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, shit. Rage was doing that in the '90s, and then, you know, they went away for a while when they kept fighting over how to make albums. Now we've seen them return, you know, at a pretty good time for them to return with all the stuff going on in the world. But yeah, it's interesting. I always wonder like what the world would have been if like Rage Against the Machine would have stayed together like during like all the stuff with like George W. Bush and like the Iraq War and all that. We never really got to see what they would have created. But having seen what they created in the '90s was already pretty cutting edge.
Yeah, I really love Tom Morello's like Working Class Hero and those albums. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I cannot listen to Tom Morello sing. It kills me. Like like the Watchtower stuff. I'm just always like, oh Tom, please just play guitar. Like I can't do this. But I do like him as a guitar player. I think he's super innovative. I think he's one of those guys that like looks at the instrument very differently than how other people look at it. And the what he's able to do with pedals and finger work is incredible. The noises he makes, where like he basically turns a guitar into a turntable. It doesn't make sense, but he does it, and it's incredible. So. Okay, so as you were like working through this stuff, like how did you first like start performing? Like, and what's that like being on stage?
So it's like I just went to like open mics. Cincinnati has a great open mic scene in general. They had less places back then, and now they have more. But back then I would go to Baba Boudin's over in Clifton. I don't even think they do open mics anymore. But I would just get on stage, and maybe there would be 3 people in the audience.
Really?
And I would just get up there and I would do spoken word. I would do the set over and over and over and over again until it was stuck in my head, and it's still stuck in my head to this day. I think that's probably just the way it is for a lot of like poets and a lot of spoken word people. So like things that I remembered at 18, like are still in there. But yeah, you just get up there and you just do the damn thing.
Do you approach it like as you're writing for on stage? Are you writing it like a 16 bar where you're like, okay, I know like this is the amount of time I want to be up there, or are you just kind of like, I'm just going to let this thing flow, and it might be 2 minutes or it might be 6 minutes?
No, you do it enough times where you kind of like know that this is going to be a 5-minute set, or this is going to be like
Is it akin to like stand-up comedy where like you start thinking about like time and word volume? Like, do you start thinking about like things to cut out, things to add in? Like, how does that evolve?
Well, I've never done stand-up comedy before, but I've done spoken word a few times, and I feel like every time you do it, you cut some things or try something else out based on like what worked, what didn't work.
Were the people in the crowd for this, were they all like, was it just spoken word people, or were you like, ever on a mixed bill where it was like, hey, this person's going to come up and play music, and then this person's going to just stand, like this person's going to sing, or was it always just everybody's here doing spoken word?
So I think at Bobby Boudin's it was a mixed bill, but at like Sitwell's, that's always like pretty much only spoken word or only poetry. And there's a lot of open mics around the city that are,
How has anything changed in? Well, actually, let's do this. Like, so when you first started out, were you nervous to get up, or were you excited? Like, what was kind of your feeling before going on stage?
I was nervous, but also like I come from a performance background. In high school. I did show choir for 4 years, so I was used to getting up in front of an audience and making a fool out of myself. So that wasn't anything new for me.
It's that's one of people's biggest fears, man. Like, there's a lot of people where their biggest fear is public speaking, and so I'm always interested in that, in the people where that is their fear, and in the people that are on the opposite end of it, like you, where you're just like, yeah, man, it's getting to do the damn thing, you know. I fall somewhere in between. I think it depends on what I'm doing. It's much easier for me to have this conversation in my basement than to have this conversation live. I've done live stuff a few times, and it's like, it's cool when the crowd's there to see you, but man, it hurts when like you plug in, you start talking, and then people at their table start talking louder so they can drown you out. It's just like, oh no, this sucks, and I'm stuck here for the next 45 minutes.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the hard part of being a live performer, is that where you can't really control the crowd. Like you can and you can't. Like stage presence, charisma, that helps. That's huge.
Yeah.
But then there is also that thing where no matter how good you are, like if a room turns on you, the room turns on you. And you can't get them back, or they don't want you there in any ways. Like you're bothering them. I've seen that happen a number of times, like where you're at a bar and all of a sudden somebody plugs in an acoustic guitar and everybody's kind of like, oh, no, I didn't come for this. So, yeah, man, I feel like it's very hard. I'm very impressed by anybody that can do this without getting nervous. because I can't. I still get butterflies when I got to do live stuff.
There's always going to be nerves, but you just gotta. I don't know. For me, I just gotta push through them. You know.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important too as a performer to have that self confidence to be able to do that. Like be able to be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get up here and do this thing, and it's mine, and be able to know in your gut and your heart that it's good enough to do that. Do you ever struggle with that? Do you ever have a thing where you're like, oh, this is shit, or this isn't good enough?
Every artist everywhere has that.
100%.
That like, oh, this shit is just not good enough.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I can't do anything about if somebody feels like that shit. My shit's not good enough. I can only get up there and do my best.
Agreed. I think that's another part of that struggle is that whole thing of the voice in your head versus other people, you know. And I've definitely had that with my artwork where I'm like, oh God, this sucks. Somebody's like, this is great. I'm like, this is dog shit, you know. And it's just I think it's that connection with it and what you want it to be, and sometimes what you see in your mind's eye isn't what you can create yet, and then that can be a thing too. Have you run into that with like your writing and stuff? Like, how do you so I can tell when my art's changing with drawing. How do you tell with what yours changing? Like, how do you know when you're leveling up? How do you know when you're taking stuff to the next level with poetry or spoken word?
Oh, so how do I know when I'm taking things to the next level with poetry?
Yeah, or like, or you can like see yourself getting better at it. Like you can read something you wrote like 3 years ago, and you're like, that what I did 3 years ago is not as good as what I'm doing now. Like, how do you judge the evolution of this?
I feel way more confident reading it or performing it in front of anyone. That's when I know. I'm more confident in submitting it for a conference, for submitting it for a residency, for just wanting it to get out into the world. That's I think when you fucking know. When you're like, oh, I don't want to keep this to myself anymore. I want to take this next step and get it fucking out into the world.
Have you ever had shifts and stuff where like periods that you've went through with things where you were doing this thing for like 2 years, now it's something you don't do at all anymore with the evolution of your work?
Definitely. So I used to be more, when I lived in Silverton, I was more of like, I don't know, more I guess concerned with like urban environments, living in Deer Park and growing up 15 minutes away from downtown Cincinnati. You see all this shit because you're on the fucking bus line, right? Living in Lebanon for the last 2 years has really distanced me from that stuff. And so now my work kind of focuses a little bit more on the spaces in between, liminality, the self a little bit more. But as I have started to think more about my past as a poet and like what kind of poet I want to be, I think like the political keeps coming up for me, the environmental keeps coming up for me, the urban keeps coming up for me, and it's not going away this time. And that is exciting, but also I'm like, oh fuck, now I have to do another shift. But I've done it before, so now it's just leaning into it in a different way.
How do you see the difference between how so is a lot of what's influenced you is where you're living at that time? Like, is that what's driving that? You would say like being initially in like this more here, you're closer to downtown versus Lebanon where you're further out. Like, so where you're living at has a lot to do with this.
Yeah, I think place is very, very important to my work.
Interesting.
In Silverton, in Deer Park, I did have that connection to an urban environment and the problems of urban environments. So gentrification was like on my mind all the time. But now Lebanon has some of those issues, but they're not as prevalent. They're not as like obvious. So part of what I've been doing recently is I've actually been going to downtown neighborhoods and photographing the gentrification in process. So I've been to College Hill and to Oakley, to Norwood, the new Factory 52 monstrosity that's going in over there. So yeah, just thinking about probably one of the biggest wealth transfers that's ever happened in our lifetime.
Yeah, so I saw some of your stuff earlier with the gentrification and stuff, and I couldn't tell like what the like if it was like a pro this or if it was an anti this or if it's just you're kind of documenting it. Like, do you have a stance on this, or are you just like acting as like a kind of like a documentarian where you're just observing what's happening?
I think documentarian is closer to it. I definitely have my own strong opinions about it, but I also realize that what's more important probably is just for people to see it than to like see it and then like have a strong opinion attached to it.
Do you consider like the stuff that's happening in so when I think of gentrification, I generally think of like downtown areas, stuff like that. But then we also see like stuff moving into like Madisonville's getting like a bunch of like new apartment complexes and stuff like that, and in other places or like even up here in like near Kenwood and Silverton, they like put in like that whole thing of like apartments that were then supposed to have like stores underneath them and stuff. Does that fall into what you're doing, or is that outside of gentrification for you?
No, absolutely. That is a part of gentrification. Taking away working class housing, replacing it with housing that is way more expensive as a way to push people out and to attract other people.
Okay, so your thing is so is I'm trying to pick up on this and get kind of the beat on where you're at with this. So your issue is you're like it's taking places where people can afford and then removing them and and not replacing with an option where they can also be part of it, whereas they're just like completely taxed out of it, they're moneyed out of it.
Definitely, it's an inequality issue for me.
Okay.
And that kind of stems from growing up like in working class background, but also just having like a kind of an activist bent towards a lot of these like working class issues.
So, okay, so one of the things I think about with gentrification is I remember like being a kid, and I wasn't in Cincinnati. I grew up in southeastern Ohio, but I remember like watching the movie Traffic, and I remember figuring out, from reading about it, that like they shot a bunch of like the really crazy scenes in like OTR, and like OTR looked horrific. Like it was just a crazy space that was like a high crime area, all this stuff, and then we've seen it completely change, or I don't know completely, but like it's definitely changed a lot of what it looks like from like a 90s movie to now. Do you see this? So I guess my question then is like, is all gentrification bad, or is there upsides to it? Like, how do you deal with this issue?
Right. Okay. So is it all bad? I don't know. Is what 3CDC did in Over the Rhine good? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Is it more walkable? Can you go to Memorial Hall now without probably being shot? Mm-hmm. Can you go to Finley? Yes. Where did those people who lived there go? Like, where did they get put? Did they get put in the West End? Mm-hmm. Where did the people in the West End get put when TQL Stadium went in?
So it's just a constant push of like, okay, we just keep moving these people to less desirable neighborhoods to then make these things happen. So yeah, I guess it does become a question of like, okay, is it the greater good or not? And then also who is affected by this and what do they get out of it? And I think this is one of those things that does make it hard to like figure out where I'm standing on this, because I see good and bad on both sides. Like you said, like with what's happened with the park, or like what's happened now with Memorial Hall and Finley, where like those areas are more accessible. You see a lot more people going to them. That's good for business. I like that. I like the idea of like smaller places popping up around Finley. But then there is also still this thing too, where there is still like the crime, and there is still like, if you walk outside of Finley, there's still areas now where it's like people just like won't repair buildings, won't fix anything, stuff's still abandoned. There's still definitely, like issues with drugs in the area, crime, and then you also get into like the weird thing that's been created by this too with the parking towers, where like if there's a parking tower downtown, everything is like really safe and nice, and then if there's not parking towers, then it's like, oh, this is like still the old neighborhood, and there's still there, it's like there's busted out streetlights and stuff. So I'm with you. I think like. It's not how good it's. I don't. Okay. I don't. No. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I guess I'm still stuck in this weird part of the in between of like. There's some stuff about it that's good. There's some stuff about it that's bad. I am with you on the fence of I'm not quite sure with what 3CDC is doing is ultimately going to be good or not. But I'm also not sure if it's going to be bad or not. But I do think that it's. I think it's got. I don't know. There's stuff about it that they do that I don't understand why they do the way they do.
Yeah, totally. And I'll just go back to it. This is the largest wealth transfer that we've ever seen in our lifetime. Probably that will be ongoing. It's going to continue to create a nation of renters, not homeowners.
That's the major issue. So, okay. So yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think there is a major issue right now with like people being able to like scoop up land and property. Because that was always the thing before, but like people would tell you like, if you want to get rich or if you want to at least be comfortable, own, don't rent. Like own land. Land's something that doesn't really go bad. Now with climate change, yeah, maybe don't buy beachfront property in Florida, but
Maybe not.
But the idea of owning your own spot and being able to like hand that down as generational wealth is huge and is important. And I do agree with you that I think there's a major problem with the idea of like creating a generation of just renters, because that totally puts the squeeze on you. You don't really have any choice in what's happening with your life, and you're just constantly losing money because at any point you get the rent jacked up on you.
It silos us all too, right? Factory 52 in Norwood, or Liberty Center in Liberty, right? Like you live in the same place where the mall is, where the dog park is, where the barbershop is, where the movie theater is.
Yeah.
It's so insular. I don't know. It seems not good.
Well, it's like it's creating like a biodome version of a neighborhood. Where it's like it's not a real neighborhood. It was all planned out. It's not something that organically happened. Because I mean, on the flip side, there is people that like live their entire life within like the 3 blocks of the apartment they're born into. But like they got their bodega they go to. They have, and then they got their spots that they go to for like. Like barbershops or, their doctor or whoever, they have their spots have been made. But yeah, the weird part about stuff like Liberty and then with 52 is like, this is all pre-planned from the jump. Like all this was already created to mimic a neighborhood, but it's not a neighborhood. Like it's not organically happening. And that feels kind of weird because it's like, you're like, it is a neighborhood, but it's not a neighborhood.
Yeah. It's like, on the surface, it's a neighborhood, but if you like look into it, maybe not so much. And so, yeah, those are definitely topics that I am interested in pursuing. And I think poetry is a great place to do that, because you can have a little bit of righteous indignation, a little bit, and then being a Cincinnati poet. This place is my home. I still live here. I was born and raised here. My daughter is probably going to live here, for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
Cincinnatians, y'all can't escape. You do. Some of you do, and you leave for 5 years and you come back. Everybody gets pulled back to this place. And being a transplant, I can see why. Like, I really have no plans to leave. I'm very happy living here. I dig, the fact that like everything is within 20 minutes of me. That's nice. And also I like the fact that it's not a major city like Chicago or New York where like I'm going to run into rush hour traffic at any hour of the day, or like Los Angeles where I'm just like, shit, I can't move. I can't go anywhere. Now, I mean, there is downsides to it. I am bummed that like there's sometimes where bands I want to go see skip Cincinnati because we also have Columbus and Cleveland to compete against. But on the whole, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. It's very much like the Goldilocks of the Midwest.
Cincinnati, the porridge is just right.
Yes.
Well, How did you? So you said that you walked into the world of doing like hip hop stuff and that. Like, where do you see the line between like rapping and poetry, or is it a Venn diagram? How does this work?
Oh, I am not the right person to ask that question. Because I have been so influenced by academic poetry, frankly,
Yeah.
and like contemporary and popular like poetry, where I'm still like very much like interested in hip hop and rap and like spoken word and what that offers to the art.
I think it is interesting to see like what happens if you just put music behind something and how that changes it. Because like I would never think of DMX as a poet, but technically DMX is a poet. When he's sitting down and writing, he's rhyming things together. He's creating stories. He's writing these things that are interesting.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, but no, I always think of him as like shirtless rapper guy screaming, lots of pit bulls around, hanging with the Rough Riders. Like I would never think to be like, oh, DMX poet.
No, there's a DMX Def Poetry episode.
Hell yeah.
That is really, really good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is everything that I want in my world.
Yes.
I'm always interested with that because I do think that it's one of those things where like when you and I talk about this a lot too with like visual art from being a visual artist is a lot of times I feel like a lot of times visual artists get like put under this like perceived banner of what art is, and I think I think in a lot of people's mind art is it's Picasso or it's not Chuck Close. Damn it, abstract expressionist Pollock. I feel like a lot of people think it's like Pollock, where it's like I don't know what it is and I'm very confused by it and therefore I'm not sure if I like it or not. And I feel kind of sometimes that way. And what it does is, you know, you're talking earlier about like the idea of like class. And I think sometimes art scares people away because they think that like they're not of like the upper middle class that would appreciate this. You know, you think of art, you think of art open, you think of galleries, and the stereotypical thing you think in your head is like a lot of people wearing black berets and being like, ah, yes, very, it does speak to the soul, yes. And, you know, like all the shit I make could not be any further from that. All the stuff I make, where you said what's important to you is place, what's important to me is like pop culture and like, is this cool? Do I like this thing? So like I'm drawing things of like the Predator, and I'm drawing things like Jason from Friday the 13th, you know, and it's totally not what I think a lot of people think art is. And so when I hear the word poetry, I think of that whole like, you know, thing where it's like, somebody's gonna be wearing a beret and it's gonna be very, yes, here we are. I'm now rhyming words and snapping fingers and having this conversation with you. It doesn't feel like that's what you're doing.
No, I'm I'm more interested in like a working class poetics. Not using my vocabulary to sound like the smartest person in the room, but a person who wants to connect with another person, and they don't have to, you know, have a college degree necessarily, or they don't have to be engaged with poetry.
Yeah.
With a capital P.
This is something where I wish the arts was more accessible for people and could kind of break through some of that stereotype, because I feel like music has always done a good job of this. Music has always done a good job of being by the people for the people and accessible, and people get it and understand it. And dance has improved a lot that way with like, you know, I would say like movies and musicals, there was that there, but then it really improved with like TikTok, where like now everybody dances, you know, and it's especially like kids now. My nephew Sam is on like a flag football team, and like he's got dances for everything, you know, like, like he's got all the dances, he's got all the moves. And it's just incredible watching it now, where it's like, oh yeah, man, your generation is going to experience dance in a whole different way than I did. Whereas like when I was a kid growing up, it was like, yeah, are you a pussy? Are you dancing? And it's like, no, I'm not dancing right now. You know, whereas now everybody is dancing. It's just part of it across the board. It's like, it's just part of everybody's stuff. So I hope that there's more of that with like art and poetry and other stuff that in the past has been labeled and stereotyped as like, oh, this is a highfalutin thing that you shouldn't have access to because you don't get it, you understand it. And then where more people are like, no, I want to do this thing and I want to have access to it and I want to try it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope, right? The hope is that I'll get up on stage and somebody in the audience will hear what I'm saying and they'll resonate with it and they'll be like, "Oh, I could do that too."
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful when you inspire people to do something, and to give something a chance. That always gets me excited to see people trying stuff new. Although I always tell people whenever people are like, "Hey, do you have any tips for being a new artist?" And I'm like, "Don't do it unless you enjoy being lonely." So,
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
that's the reality of it. We're alone, man. Like again, this is like the weird thing with artists. We're always in our studios, so we're alone. Like, and once you get outside of maybe the only time that isn't true is like if you get into something like Essex or like another like open studio where everybody has their own studio, but like you're still near artists as neighbors. Like you do get that bleed over and that crossover. But a lot of times, like people like me that don't want to rent studio space, it's like I'm here in my basement drawing. So it is always interesting to meet people when they're like, "Oh, this is cool. Like this makes me want to do it." It's like, "All right, cool, get into it." But fair warning. Do you ever have advice like to people that want to get into spoken word or poetry? Do you ever have stuff like both positive and negative to say to them?
I think just do it. Like, think about what you're reading. Think about what TV shows you like. Think about what music you like. All of those things are inspiring you. Think about what kind of art you like to look at. Think about if you like comic books. What do you like about superhero stories? Like all of that stuff is fodder. When people say like I don't have inspiration or like I hit writer's block or whatever, I don't feel like that is the case for me. I feel like everything about life is an inspiration. Yeah.
I'm with you to some extent on that. Like I do occasionally get writer's block, but what I do then is like I brainstorm and I just start writing like stream of consciousness, like what's in my head at that moment, and then try to figure out like what it is that I'm interested in doing and making. But that's all. But I also think that you got the thing going where like you cited earlier like your place and your surrounding inspires you, and that's something it seems like the well's never going to go dry there. Like you're always gonna have something to talk about.
Right. So, okay, this is one of the reasons I love being a poet because being a poet means I can be a historian, I can be a sociologist, I can be a religious scholar. I can wear all these fucking hats at the same time being a poet. There's no other vocation on earth that allows you that kind of freedom of habit, of, what the fuck am I going to be interested in today?
Do you have a favorite hat to wear, or do you like to sew a couple of the hats together?
In my heart, I'm a armchair historian, but also like cultural critic. I like philosophy a lot.
Yeah,
I really like philosophy.
you like the question of why.
Yeah, definitely thinking about why we do things and who we are, and are we the same person when we wake up in the morning that we were when we fell asleep, the previous night.
Yeah, philosophy to me is like I always think of it as like super high thoughts, where it's just like, whoa, why am I thinking this? Or like you start having that thing of like, why do we all do this? Or I also tend to think about like what I would be doing if I didn't live in this time period. That's the thing I think about a lot.
Sure.
I'm like sitting here, I'm 42. I'm like, if I was alive in the 1600s, I would have been dead by now.
Totally. Totally. I don't know. If I was alive in the 1600s, hopefully I would have been like, all right, I'm going to make hats or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do a skill. I'm going to be a craftsman still. Like, I feel like in every version of the self, I'm some kind of a craftsman.
I like that. You have way better outlook than I do on this. There's a lot of days where like I have a bad day at work and I'm just like, man, like right now I'm in front of a computer, but if it was like 1,000 years ago, I would have been out in a field getting spears thrown at me. You know what? I wouldn't be against it right now. Because it's been a bad day.
It can feel like that if you work in an office.
It's true. It really can. It can grind the soul. But yeah, man. No, I do think the question of why is interesting, and of the idea of like thinking about yourself, because there is a thing where it can get like really day to day and meaty, and then there is that thing where it's like, well, why not change? Like, why not do something else? Why not be different? Why not move or do something? If you have the means, to make it happen. or to work towards something. I don't know. It is the question of why. Was I predetermined to be this thing, or am I this because of my environment, or am I this because I'm choosing not to change? I think that's always a weird question of it, what stuff in life is predetermined, and what stuff is I had a choice I could have made, and I zigged when I should have zagged.
Fucking A, right? And that's why identity, I feel like, is such a, while I've been in this MFA program, at least, it's been such a central idea for me. As my identity does shift, as I go from not having kids to now being a father. Yeah.
Was there, with the idea of identity, was there ever anything you've looked back on where you're like, oh man, I wish I would have done this, like in terms of like a career or anything, or stuff you got interested in, or are you like, no, at this point in my life, I'm pretty happy with my choices that I've made?
I feel like every choice that I made led me to here, for good and bad.
Yeah.
And so, on most days, on every day, I wouldn't want any of those decisions to be different. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that sometimes. There's stuff where I'm like, I wish I would have done this sooner, or I wish I would have never done that. But you're right. It's like, but had I done anything differently, who knows what happens? It's like it's the time traveler story where it's like you go back in time, you step on a butterfly, and all of a sudden, the world's totally upside down, and Abraham Lincoln never existed, and it's just like, oh shit, like what have I done? So yeah, it's just like, well, you can't press the rewind button. You're here now, man. Like the only thing you can change is what's going forward, and even that, some stuff you can change, some stuff you can't. Yeah.
And through art, you can kind of be like, here's how I fucked up. Try not to fuck up this way.
Be a learning thing.
Yeah, maybe.
For others. Something to be said about that. I try to do that more as I get older. I try to look at what other people have fucked up, so I don't make that same mistake. Because I don't need to learn by hitting my head all the time.
Right?
Yeah. Sometimes you can like look at somebody else and be like, you know what? I'm not doing that. It doesn't seem good. Yeah. Like thinking about like I've definitely seen some stuff with like like people on alcohol, and I'm just like, yeah, man, I don't want to ever become like the daily drinker guy, Yeah. And I've seen other people do it, and I'm just like, man, it's just it's just not good, and it just and same thing with like watch people gamble. Like gambling scares me. It's one of those things where I've seen it grab a hold of people, and I'm always like, that's a vice I don't want anything to do with.
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid that one. So I'm going to learn through somebody else.
With alcohol, I had to learn from myself.
Yeah.
I was the daily drinker and like a drinker by myself guy. And I've been alcohol free for, I think, a little over 2 years.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations.
It's the fucking best thing ever. I don't ever have a hangover ever.
Which is great. Like remembering conversations is pretty cool.
Oh, sure. Remembering conversations.
Yeah. Being able to drive cars whenever you want to.
Whenever I want to.
There's so many pluses to not drinking.
So many.
Yeah.
Not have to worry about all of the health stuff. And also like my grandfather, was a really bad alcoholic, and I have a whole history of alcoholism, and I feel like a lot of like that's just a thing that exists. But the culture, yada yada yada.
Yeah. 100%. I think there's that too with like, you kind of hear a lot about that with like grandfathers and older men, people of our generation. And it's just like, yeah, because a lot of people like went away to wars, or they worked in a factory or something else horrific, and they didn't really have any type of like therapy or any type of like talking to somebody. It was very much just like, look, life sucks for everybody. Shut the fuck up. Here's booze. Booze will make it better.
Right.
It's escapism. Right. And, at the time, if like you don't know how to process anything but that, it's like, well, escape is good because escape at least takes away my problems for a while. Escapism can also cause a lot of problems. But I do get to that extent why we've seen somewhat of a shift to that, where like it seems like everybody had alcohol like touch their life in some way in a negative way with like older generations.
That's a good point too about the older generations not being as attuned with mental health issues.
Yeah.
I know like my parents and my grandparents. Like,
Yeah.
no, there was no talk of mental health anything.
No, yeah, same.
This is the 90s.
Yeah, 100%. No, I remember like my grandmother and my mom both, and like having anxiety, and like they're just like, oh, we're worried, and I'm like, no, you have anxiety, like that's a thing. And to this day, like my mom will will not say that she has anxiety, and I'm like, well, I do. I'm like, I definitely do. I worry about a bunch of shit. It's just, but and it's okay to say it. It's fine. Everybody else is kind of fucked up too. Like, it's okay.
There's power in that shit, though.
Yeah.
There's power in being like, I'm not okay, and maybe I need some help every now and then.
Yeah, and I think that's a hard thing to do sometimes, depending on who you are, to be able to admit that to yourself and just in general. I go back and forth on that. I went to therapy for a while, and I don't know if it was good or bad or not, because I felt like after like the first few sessions, it was kind of like, oh, I just need to change this. And it's like, right. But then like after that, it kind of became like everything was just the person never really giving me answers. It was just like, how do you feel about that? What about this? And I'm like, damn it, lady, I'm paying you like $100 an hour to come here. Like, give me some fucking, what do I do? Like, I need some advice here. I need something. But it did help with a few things in my life, to kind of figure some stuff out.
For me, I've only had one therapist, and I fired her because she wasn't a great therapist. Any therapist you don't want to be honest with, don't fucking keep that therapist.
Solid sign right there.
But what she did do was she talked me through how like past communication models that I've had were not the most healthy way to run a relationship. And so I think a lot about that. I think a lot about like the models of communication that we all, witness or don't witness.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think about that. Like, the way I communicated in my 20s and my 30s is definitely different than the way I did now. And there is definitely some stuff I would like to take back, or if I could like talk to a younger me and be like, hey man, don't do that. Or, being in relationships where it was like, I never thought that I would find anybody better. Like, it was one of those deals where it was like, this chick is so hot that there is no way I'm ever going to find another hot woman ever again if this one gets rid of me. So I will eat bullshit to stay with this hot lady. And I just would love to go back and I'd be like, dude, fucking get rid of her. Kick her to the curb. Get the fuck out. Like, everything's going to be fine. You're going to find somebody else. Like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, 20-year-old me. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's transfer out of like super heavy, fucking depressing mental talk. Let's get over to so talk me through your creative process, man. Like, how do you write? Are you a guy that's like writing in notepads? Are you a guy that busts out the laptop? Are you like creating on your phone? And like, how do you physically write?
It's a combination of all those things. So over the summer, I was writing in a notebook every single day, and then since the fall, I've been kind of going back through that notebook and just kind of mining it for poems, and it's been effective. Otherwise, like, I don't know, that whole bullshit about like being inspired and then like making a poem right then and there, that fucking happens too. It does. It just doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah.
But when it fucking does, you have to lean into it and you have to be like, oh, I'm fucking grabbing this shit because I don't know when it's gonna come back.
You got to catch that fairy dust. like it's here, it's happening. Get it now.
Yeah, like as an artist, like I'm sure you have a similar thing, like where you have like an image for a sketch or something that you don't want to fucking lose, so you like
immediately jot it down.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I do a lot in my sketchbooks. I also write a lot in my sketchbooks. Like I'll write notes to myself besides something I drew where it's like a really like gestury sketch that took like 30 seconds. And it's like this needs to be this. It's like, all right, cool.
And I've heard too from other poets that they're composing even when they're not writing.
Okay.
Like they're just fucking thinking and they're composing at the same time. I'm not there yet, but that's fucking cool.
So for you, do you think up like a main topic and you're like, ooh, I'm going to start writing about that? Or do you ever just get like a line in your head and then you're like, ooh, that's a cool thing I want to write around? Like, how does that creation process work?
I mean, it depends. It definitely depends. Sometimes it is dependent on, yeah, like I'm definitely gonna write about this. I'm big on like creative obsessions. So like right now, one of my creative obsessions is all things mycology, as a really good way to understand, queer identity, frankly. Thinking about, like the mushroom is not quite plant, not quite animal, but like right in between. But then also like the way that decomposition like works to get rid of the bad shit so then good shit can like come to the forefront. So yeah, mycology is a creative obsession for me right now, and so I'll sit down at the notebook and I'll be like, I want to make a mushroom poem. So that happens sometimes.
How do you, so as you're creating with that, then how do you figure out like when the poem ends? Like because I think of something, so if I think of something like other written things, so if I think of stand-up comedy, I know that people write for like 5 to an hour long set, or musicians, it's like verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, like there's structure to that. How do you approach it? Is there a time limit? Is there a length limit? How do you know when it's done?
I rely on models usually. Like if I want in like a shape, kind of. Like I want it to have this kind of general shape. And if I want it to have this kind of general shape, I need it to have this many stanzas. But right now, I've been really focused on short form. So, excuse me, utility of language, not a word fucking wasted. And then like really rich imagery. So like just trying to pack so much fucking shit into a line or into a word. That's the kind of shit that really gets me interested right now.
I'm a big fan of that, a word economy of less is more. Like, don't talk as much as you can, talk as much as effective. I think that's important.
So I picked up sharp objects from a little free library. And while word economy is not what Gillian Flynn is doing in that thing, the storytelling is good because you can tell who the audience is, like right from the rip. And that's important to know who the fuck your audience is.
Interesting. Let me put a pin in the audience for a second because I want to bring back to this thing because I don't want to lose this. When you said shape, are you talking like the physical shape on the paper of the words, or are you talking about like what do you mean by that?
Oh, like how many lines are each stanza? How long is the line? Right now, I'm very inspired by mycelial networks and the threading nature of mycelial networks. So what that looks like is like maybe really short lines, 1 to 2 words per line, and then lots of space in between to kind of represent the threading nature and like digging down into the earth.
Nice. And then, then what were we just talking about there right after the shape thing that we said to put the pin in? Oh, the audience. So with audience, like, who are you going after? Like, who are you trying to talk to?
So I am trying to talk to people who might learn something from my work. When I started, I didn't see a lot of queer representation in urban Appalachian poets. And so my work is addressing that erasure, addressing that gap that I see. And so if one little queer kid out there, like I said earlier, like actually, hears a poem of mine or sees it somewhere and like is able to be like, wow, that's my experience too. That's fucking cool.
When you're writing in this voice, are you writing in to this audience? Are you writing things that are positive and like, hey, or are you writing about bad experiences? Like, what are you writing about in this relationship?
Oh, so I think it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of the good. It's a little bit of the bad. It's a little bit of the like, don't do this because I did this and it was fucking shitty. Just don't do this, or don't do this because, maybe it's not maybe it's not for you. So yeah, there's definitely like I want to inform the audience. I want to entertain the audience through poetic form. I guess that's it. Inform and entertain. Some of my favorite stand-ups are like George Carlin and Lenny Bruce. And so at their best, they did that, right? They informed and entertained at the same time.
Yeah, Carlin especially had that thing where it was like
Hicks too.
yeah, oh, shout out Hicks. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially during that last like 2 years when he knew he was going out but didn't really tell anybody and just was like, I'm just gonna talk about whatever I want. Yeah, I think those are all important people, and I do think it is interesting where you're talking about the idea of like infotainment, where it's like I'm gonna hit you with something that is important, but at the same time I'm gonna make it digestible to where it's easy for you to get and to understand, and it's not like a big heady topic that's so hard to get. Like it's actually gonna be a little fun learning about it. You know, it's like when you put cheese on your broccoli.
It's exactly like when you put cheese on your broccoli. So how I couch some of this stuff is I like to play around with different genres. So the horror genre of poetry, science fiction, time travel features heavily in my work.
Nice.
Pop culture features heavily in my work. You were talking about 90s X-Men off mic earlier. Yeah, so Hugh Jackman, Storm is just the best.
Yeah, she's great.
Yes.
Very cool. Yeah, I like what you're saying there because I think that does, you know, kind of go back to our conversation earlier about how sometimes like the arts can be a highfalutin, like kind of a scary thing to enter into because you get the stereotype in your head. I think with that doing right there, like that makes me want to like read your poetry because I'm like, oh, sci-fi horror, like this is shit I'm into. Like we're talking about time traveling. Okay, cool. I like time travel stuff. Like that right there makes it very accessible and like, okay, this is something that, you know, where normally this wouldn't be my thing. I'm at least going to give it a chance because it's hitting on shit that I am into.
Yeah, it takes it a little bit outside of the literary. To a more kind of popular place, I suppose.
What do you do with the pieces you've created? Like, do you save stuff? Do you have a storage unit for it? Like, how do you keep your work?
Right now it's just kind of a hot mess on like a hard drive.
Okay.
I have maybe, I don't know, since I've been in the program, I've produced about 80 pages of stuff. So by the time I'm done with the program next August, I'll probably have about 100 pages of 100-page manuscript. So my next step is probably to produce a book. I've produced a chapbook already in undergrad that was very much engaged with like some of the gentrification and the political things that we were talking about earlier, as well as my experience as a third-generation Appalachian migrant, as well as things related to like my grandfather. Those stories, family stories, are definitely like central in what I like to think about.
Do you think them? So you said like writing a book. Like, do you think about like what you want the presentation of the book to be? Do you have an idea of like what you want the artwork to be or like the layout?
No, not at all. I have no. Actually, I kind of do know what I want the art to be. I want it to be messy because I think my poems are messy, and I think I as a person am a little messy, and so I think that it unfinished, like you still have a little polish, I suppose, but like that unfinished, that gritty, that dirty, I think that speaks to like my like urban upbringing. I was lucky enough to go to a figure drawing class at Manifest Drawing Gallery next to Cincinnati State, maybe a month ago or so, month and a half ago. And it was very intimidating to be there with people who knew what the fuck they were doing.
Did you get to work with a nude model?
Yeah.
Was the nude model in good shape?
She was in decent shape.
The reason why I asked this is because the last time I did figure drawing was in college, and The first time I did figure drawing, it was like the first class was a night class, and they brought in a woman who was like middle age and had a few kids, and the professor was just so stoked. He's like, you're never gonna get to draw a body like this ever again, or during your time here probably. So take advantage of this. And I was like, why? I don't. Okay, whatever. And then after that, like everybody I drew was 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds that were all like super ripped. Like it was like, oh, I get it. If you got the confidence to be a nude model, generally you got a pretty fucking good body.
Yeah.
So that, and then after a while it kind of becomes boring, because if you're just drawing like jack nude dude that's all kind of the same, like they're just boxes, like not much really changes on it. And then the same thing with like women that have like not had kids or anything, like their body's pretty put together, and like about the only thing you run into a difference on is like with the hips and boobs. Like other than that, it's all kind of the same layout. And I'm just like, oh yeah, the guy was right. There surely isn't as fun to draw. Like that was way more fun to draw the lady that like, had some skin hanging there, and stuff wasn't all in the right spots. Like that was way more cool to like experiment with the human body and figure out how to actually draw this thing and create textures and weights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always have to ask, like, how in shape were the nude models?
She was pretty in shape. I think she was like 20.
Yep.
She had braces.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
But that was a really fun experience because I don't really draw. And so I was just very much like, I'm here to play. And that's what I did. I just sat there and played, and it was a good time.
That's awesome that you were able to approach it with that idea of like, I'm not in competition, I'm in play. And I think that's important if you're starting out in a new kind of art, to just not put expectations on yourself out the gate. Just be like, man, just feel it out. See what you think about it.
Yeah. Like at this point in the program, I'm like, I need to have this niche because I want to have this career.
Sure.
But I guess like one of my like biggest pieces of advice for people who wanted to get started writing, play. Yeah, play first.
I think that's a great advice. I think that's kind of the basis of all arts, is like, just don't go into it with an expectation. Go into it just have fun, and are you enjoying this creative process? And does this bring you joy? Because if this doesn't bring you joy, then you're not going to like it when you actually start adding stakes to it, because then it's going to become tedious and annoying, and you're eventually just going to quit because it sucks.
Yeah, you're gonna get lots and lots and lots of rejection.
Yeah,
so much.
My God,
get prepared to be rejected so much.
Shit hurts, dude. And it's just one of those things where like you try to get used to it over time, and you have to, but still, it's just like, oh man, I tried, and this person was like, nope.
You're not good enough.
Yep. Nope.
We're going in a different direction.
Going in a different direction. Not with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that makes you fucking resilient. And like, I remember listening to a interview that Chen, great fucking poet, gave, and he said that like he would put stuff out there and he would get rejected, and the rejection would fucking sting really hard, and he might retreat for a week or so or a month. But as time went on, and as he got more comfy with the rejection, then maybe the bounce back would be like a day. And I just always think about that. I'm like, well, yeah, you're gonna have lots and lots of rejection if you're gonna be putting yourself out there.
Yeah, 100%. I think that is just reality of like, you can't be all things to all people. And there's going to be people that just think what you do sucks. And that's just the reality of it. And you can't change that. And getting rejected does hurt. But I think you do have a healthy attitude of like, look, you just got to pull yourself off the canvas, because this is just going to keep happening. And you miss all the shots you don't take. So,
yeah, that's fucking A.
It's Wayne Gretzky, bro.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't take the shot, then...
Right.
Yeah. Maybe it's a miss, maybe it's a goal. You don't know.
Is it Wayne Gretzky? I thought it was a basketball player.
Maybe. I don't know. It's somebody. If somebody played sports, I do know that Wayne Gretzky gets attributed always be where the puck is going, because I remember Kevin Smith saying that one time in the thing, and I was like that's good advice from Wayne Gretzky. Like, go where the puck is going. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, because if you wait for the puck, then the puck's going to get stolen. So you got to go meet it there. I'm like, oh, smart Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Yeah, there where the puck is. But yeah, I do think that's also, but I do think what does make that hard though, as being an artist is, I've always seen being an artist is like kind of a weird, and again, I don't want to speak for you. You tell me how you feel about this, but I've always seen it as kind of like being like a weird conduit where like, to put emotion into work and to make people care about work, like you have to put some emotion into it. So you have to be open and feel things. And sometimes I don't like fucking feeling things.
Poetry is emotion.
Yeah.
It just is. And so like part of making things that'll resonate is like taking little fucking pieces out of yourself and smearing them on a fucking page and seeing if anybody's like, oh, I get that. I've been there.
Do you ever get hurt by it?
I'm at the point now where I'll pretty much fucking say anything.
Okay.
So, no.
Okay, you're pretty Tefloned up.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So, because we kind of talked about it a bit with you being in an MFA program, like how did you decide to go into an MFA program, something you're going to be spending money on? Because the argument can be made, it's like, well, couldn't you just YouTube this? So, like, how did you decide to do this? And then what value do you see with taking this route?
Okay. So before I was in the MFA program, I was working for a year as a financial proofreader, for a big auditing firm. What working in a corporation teaches you is, what you're willing to do for money and what you're not willing to do for money. And so I realized that while the money was good, it was not worth my soul. And so I knew that I wanted to pursue an MFA. I didn't know which program. I kind of had an idea that Miami would work, that I would have at least a shot. And if you have at least a shot, then you fucking do it. Miami's program is good because it's fully funded.
Nice.
So while I have to pay some bullshit fee, beyond that, everything else is funded through a graduate assistantship.
Awesome.
So I'm getting experience teaching a class where I had no experience teaching a class. I'm getting the training necessary to be a working artist at this level. I'm also ingrained in academia, which is, something that I absolutely love. And so the MFA for me is just an opportunity like any other opportunity. And I am just soaking it all fucking up. I'm going to as many conferences as I can. I am just trying to take advantage of every little aspect of it because I know it's not going to be forever. In the fall, I'm planning on applying to a PhD program. The likelihood that I'll get that is not great. But I'm still going to fucking apply,
Take the shot.
Take the shot. What the fuck?
Take the shot.
If I have everything lined up, if I have the ref letters, if I have, if all my shit is fucking good, then why not?
Yeah.
The worst thing that'll happen, they'll say no, and then maybe I'll like regroup and come back to it. But if they say yes, then that's 4 more years to dedicate to my craft and dedicate to to the training that is required at this high level of academia. After finishing a PhD program in creative writing, I would literally be able to plug into any institution across the country as a creative writing professor. Which is kind of where my heart is right now. So I don't know. But the MFA's been great. It's so cool to work with other poets and people who are just like there for the same reason you are. Like I just like wake up every day and just get to like so fucking happy because I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of this, you were talking about the whole thing of like what you're willing to do for money to survive. I mean, I was having that conversation releasing with somebody, and I was like, it does feel like that on some level, where it's just like, I need money to survive. What skill set do I have to do this thing, and what is the thing that I can do where like I can actually do it and not completely hate it or myself while I do it. Because it always amazes me like how many different careers and jobs there are out there you can do. Like if I wanted to, I guess I could go climb cell phone towers for a living. No fucking way. You know, like you can make that paycheck as good as you want. I'm not doing it. You know, or like the idea of like being a guy like working on an oil rig. You know, I'm like, nope, have no desire to do that either. But I also know that like there's no way I could never be a financial guy or like any kind of accountant. Like the idea of like sitting all day and looking at a spreadsheet, I'm just like I would jump out a window at some point. Like there's just no way. I'm not built for that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like knowing what you're knowing what you're right for and knowing what you're not right for.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, there's just so many different paths you can go down where you can decide to be what you want to. I feel like right now I see a lot of people getting into nursing because that's a field where there's such a need for people. Mm-hmm. But I just don't understand how people are going to stay in that field. Like if you're not built for it, if you don't love it, you're going to leave it. Like there's just no two ways about it. Like if you can't deal with like being an ER nurse and like just the constant horrible shit you're seeing, yeah, maybe you like that gigantic paycheck, but there's no way you're gonna be able to do this for multiple years because it's eventually gonna break you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I always find it interesting. People can find out that happy medium of money versus thing they do versus what they can do for money.
Yeah, for me that's teaching. I think after I graduate, what I'm going to apply for is just adjuncting. Mm-hmm. Be an English professor, get in somewhere at a community college, give back, probably Cincinnati State.
Mm-hmm. I always enjoyed teaching. I always felt like that was really fulfilling and cool. It checks the box for me of like, you get to see somebody's eyes light up and learn something. That's pretty cool. That feels good. Like to help somebody improve. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I like this. I've always been somebody that wants to see others succeed more than myself. So that kind of helps in that situation. So yeah, I will always have a spot in my heart for teaching because I think it is a very cool, important thing.
I don't think you're gonna have that experience with every student, but I think like if you have that experience with a handful of students,
yeah,
I think then it's worth it.
100%. I think it's one of those things where, I mean, if I look back, I taught high school for like 6 years and, in my head, I can think of maybe like a dozen people that stood out where it was like, oh, I still have a friendship today with those people, and that was cool. Like, I will say that was one of the best parts about social media is like after students graduate and, be able to see them now where they're in their 20s and they're, some in their early 30s and, they got families and kids and all that shit, man. It's cool. It's cool to see somebody who I knew as like a weird, I mean, what do you call high school students? Because they're not kids, but they're not adults. They're
adolescents.
Thank you. Good word. Good word. So this is why you're the righty guy. All right. Yeah. So yeah. So like that, like, because high school is like that weird. High school and junior high are definitely like the weird transformation parts of turning into a werewolf. Where like when you're a kid, you're the human, and then when you're an adult, you're the werewolf. But then like junior high and high school is like that weird like 20 to 60% of the werewolf transformation where like you're still a man but like a snout's coming out and like you have like some hairy ass ears, but you're not all the way werewolfed yet.
Yeah.
And you're still kind of discovering yourself. And I always thought that was cool to get to talk to the people of that age because it's like, oh shit, like I can have an influence here and help you with stuff and maybe avoid some things I did or whatever, or maybe see you fucking up on something. Like, hey man, don't do that,
I think this is why I like first year composition too, because it's not just like a composition class. It's really like a life skills kind of class. Like, here's how to college and not have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing. And then also it's like, here's people you've never met before and they don't know you from your small hometown. And now you have to meet new people. And now you're going to meet people that like you've never met, like you've never met a Muslim before in your small town. This dude's Muslim. Here you go, and what's that like, and then having that conversation, we're like, oh, I guess we're all people. It's like, yeah, we're all people, dude. Like that's the reality of life. We're all people. We're all a little different, but on the whole, we all kind of want the same shit. We want to have food. We want to have water. We want to be in a safe, warm bed at night. And and then you start figuring out like, oh, you're also into this thing I'm into. Yeah, I am too. You get that crossover. It's like, oh, cool, friendship. So yeah, I agree. I think that whole first year thing is very cool, especially at the college level, where you get people outside of like, hey man, your parents aren't here. You got to make some decisions. You're gonna meet people you've never met before. You're in yeah. This is the reality of the big world out there.
Yeah.
Well, we're starting to wind down here on the show. Before we get out of here, how is your poetry currently evolving? Like, and you kind of hit on it a bit before, but do you see anything new popping up with it, or are you pretty set where you're at right now, and this is where it is for the next few years?
I think it's always evolving. I think I'm leaning way more into I'm leaning a little bit more into the exploration of queer identity, for sure. Showcasing that experience, like putting that experience at the forefront, for some of what I've been writing currently.
What are you focusing on with that? Like, is there a specific thing you're trying to say, or is it just like the existence of being a human, or what's going on?
So I think what it comes down to is just like highlighting and showcasing like the urban Appalachian queer experience. Mm-hmm. So having these connections to the South, but also pushing back against some of these stereotypes, and like showing that like this is a way to be queer and Appalachian, and other aspects of identity. I think identity is definitely like one that I'm super interested in right now, and I don't know how long that'll be the case, but I'm definitely leaning into it right now.
Hell yeah. Dig it. I like that. Well, look, was there anything we didn't talk about on the show tonight you wanted to hit on? Was there anything that we didn't cover?
So another reason why I really like poetry is because of the connection to activism, the past connection to activism with like the beat poets, but then like the current connection to activism too with like a Dinez Smith or a Chen Chen, poets who are discussing these like hot button political issues. With Dinez Smith, we're talking about the Black Lives Matter movement, and going forward with how race is treated in this country. The same thing with Chen Chen, with Asian American issues related to how race is kind of treated in this country. And so I just think that poetry is a wonderful vehicle for activism. And in thinking about my own poetry and how I define myself, I really do think of myself as an activist first and a poet second.
How, so with that, like, how do you look at it as like something where, is it big changes or little changes? Because I'm just trying to think of like, you're saying these two people's names that obviously I don't know, and I'm just like, okay, how do these people make change, but I don't know about them? And is it like I don't know, man. Kind of help me with this because I'm like I get the idea of trying to make change, but how do you make change when like you don't have a big voice, or maybe I'm not the audience for it? I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm just kind of swimming in it at the moment because you threw out the idea of like, here's these people, this is what they're talking about, they're trying to make change for, and I'm like, cool, but I'm like, shit, I don't know who they are, but they sound important. Like, is there a way to expand their reach or who they're trying to get out to, or is it focusing, like you said earlier, finding your audience and focusing on it?
I think it's finding your audience and focusing on it. You can't be you can't be everything to everybody, like you said earlier. With the two individuals that I mentioned, they have found an audience. They're both, working poets who I very much admire, and I very much admire the way that they're using their message to promote these aspects of racial awareness, and also inequalities that are kind of inherent in the system.
So okay, so devil's advocate on that though. So if you do get in your niche and you find your base, it kind of becomes a thing. So in the artist world, we have what's called like the 1,000 fan theory, where it's you find 1,000 fans, you sell your stuff to them because if each one of them gives you $1, you're making $1,000. So if you anything you release above that, you're going to sell out and you're going to make money and you're going to be able to live and work. So then my question to that then becomes: are they just like preaching to their base and making the money off it, where at the same time they're not expanding their message to people that actually need to hear it because they're just talking to people that already agree with them?
Right. You're talking about the echo chamber. Um, so I don't know the answer to that. I feel like the echo chamber is easy, especially like within the poetry world. I don't know if this is the same in like the art that you do, but in the poetry world, like, what you get some book awards, you get some notoriety there, and then you get residencies teaching. But then that does keep you within a echo chamber of people who are only engaged in poetry, potentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
That's see, and I don't, dude. I'm not trying to make it like a gotcha because I go back and forth on that as well too, because I think it is like a weird thing of trying to marry of like, well, I got the people that like my stuff, but these aren't really the people that need to know the thing because they already know the thing. I need to tell people that don't know the thing so I can improve this. But then it's like, okay, but how do I get my voice to those people? Because I don't have access to them because they're outside of my area that I work in. And I feel like that is the struggle because again, when you talked about like about like the whole idea of like artist in residency and starting to form that like people that follow you and know you, that is really similar to art where it's like you're working in galleries, you're parts of shows, you show up at like markets and stuff, you start to build fan base. Same thing with bands where it's like you start out working in smaller bars and you level up. It's interesting to see like where those, it in the arts, like it's all kind of the same, but it's all a little different in how you go and make what you make.
I think with writing, though, it's different in that you can use your message to affect change. And it doesn't have to just be in poetry. It could be in an op-ed. It could be in a social media post, which could appeal to more than just your base, potentially. Mm-hmm. So I guess that could be one way that writers can actually create change or create the parameters for change. Outside of their niche.
I think going back earlier, we were talking about like Killer Mike and LP, and then like Rage Against the Machine. Like those are definitely people that like have a message that's got to a wider audience because music is like more of a thing that people can relate to. And sometimes people will just like start nodding their head to the beat before they even notice the words that are being said.
By the time Killer Mike's like, look at all them slave masters posing on your dollar.
Yeah.
They're just already bumping
their head. Yeah. Exactly. Or it's like, what was that dude? Republican guy that used to be the head of the House. Black hair, big ears. He got out before the Trump administration.
Boehner?
No, not Boehner. Ryan.
Oh, yeah, Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan. Like, Paul Ryan's favorite band is Rage Against the Machine. Oh. And it's like, did you ever listen to lyrics at all? Like, did you, like, read the linear notes once? Like, how is this your favorite band? Because, dude, they hate you. Like, all their songs are about how much they hate you.
Working class bona fides. Yeah, I can see how he would say that. And also, like, what? Like, because he was young, too.
Yeah.
I can see him, like, working out or something.
Yeah.
Putting his earbuds in and listening to Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, and it's just like, how did you miss, like, all of this, bro? But, yeah, I do think that, like, those are some people that have been able to kind of bridge that where it's like, they've definitely got a message out in front of people that normally wouldn't hear it, and have been able to like influence them because of it. 100%.
Definitely.
Well, look, man, we've kind of talked a little bit about it tonight. Like, what's the future look like? Like, you got an end goal for this thing? I mean, I know you said you're looking at getting into a PhD program, but like, is there any goals in terms of like, a place that you would love to, present at, or to do spoken word at, or to do any kind of like a lecture at, or is there like a book that you would want to sell someplace or write, or what's the future?
Yeah, so right now I'm really excited about presenting at the Wintersboro Conference in Hindman, Kentucky.
Hell yeah.
It is a long-time Appalachian Studies kind of enclave down there. I would love to read at Berea College. Berea College is so fucking cool because undergrads do not pay a penny to go there.
Cool.
Which is so fucking awesome.
Wait, where's it located at?
In Berea, Kentucky.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And then also the Appalachian Studies Conference, or the Appalachian Studies Association Conference, is in North Carolina next year. And I have an application in, and I don't know if I'll get it, but I might get it. And if I get it, then I'll be reading my poems in North Carolina.
Dude, how cool was that?
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be very cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Is there any conferences that you're looking to go to coming up?
I'm so swamped with everything.
Yeah.
It's like the last 3 weeks of the semester. I'm just looking forward to the end of it.
Just let it be over.
I'm
Please
just
let it
so
be over.
tired.
I'm ready to sleep in some.
Literally.
Yeah.
So tired.
I'm always interested with conferences because whenever I go to conferences, I always have to balance that thing of like, all right, what is the conference and then what city it is in? Mm-hmm. And that's a real like yin and yang where like sometimes I'm like, I will definitely go to this just because of the city that it's in. Or it's like, well, I guess it's in Buffalo, but I really want to go to this conference.
Yeah. The AWP, which is a big writers conference, that one is in, I don't even remember. St. Louis?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, St. Louis. But it's a big conference. I don't think so.
You get to see an arch?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Well, okay. Well, sorry, St. Louis. I was trying to help, but
right?
Oh shit. Well, look, man. Thank you so much for coming on and doing the show. I really appreciate it. Can you hit your plugs one more time before we get out of here? Let people know where they can find you at and what they can get from you.
Oh yeah, cool. So I am at Instagram at Matt Farley Writes. And then tomorrow night, I am going to be doing the MFA Writers podcast. I don't know if that goes live right away, but check it out if you are interested in writing or MFA programs or poetry or whatever. Thanks.
Hell yeah, dude. Listener, this is going to be out maybe... I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing this is like 2 weeks in the future now from when we've actually recorded this, which who knows what's going to happen in the future. Talk about time travel. Like, we might not even be here in 2 weeks.
No.
Who knows? An asteroid might have hit us. The interdimensional alien dinosaurs have opened a rift. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I can only speculate. But definitely check out Matt appearing on... Sorry, what was the name of the podcast again?
The MFA Writers Podcast.
Google that shit, listener. Listener, you know where to find me at Neil to No One on Instagram is the place to be. My link tree is there. You can find all the stuff. And if you have a friend that's into poetry, spoken word, hip hop, let them know about this episode. And then let them know about the back catalog. There's over 140 episodes to choose from. Everything's evergreen. Everything is its own topic. So you can jump in when you want, where you want. Don't worry about chronological order at all. Matt, man, thanks so much for coming and doing the show, dude. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Hell
This
yeah.
was fun.
Hell yeah. Listener, peace.